Yo, what's up? It's your boy Chris in the Patriarch Pod with my mans, my brothers. Yeah,
Hold
they
on,
was
we got to start over. I'm gonna need a little more energy. Nigga.
I know it is a
I
good
would
day.
I would
Yeah,
not be excited to listen to this
it's
pod with
it's
you
your
bringing
boy.
your Keith Sweat voice.
This nigga sound like Eeyore. It's your boy, Chris Collins.
Hey, that sip of coffee hit me wrong, man. Hear me go ahead, man. Or Mark, whatever, one of y'all. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm in LA. I'm on LA time, so I might be a little
All right,
Eeyore.
you got the frog.
Hey,
got
you
y'all.
over there? Clearly, you over there being a deadbeat daddy ain't getting all your sleep at night. Go ahead and start it out.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to the pod, the Patriarch Pod. I'm your boy Him. We got Mark in the house. We got my man's Collins in the house. How we doing, fellas?
That was good. We just gonna, that was better, man.
How we living?
Yeah,
I'm good, man. I'm in LA right now, so it's early. It's like 6 something in the morning. So I just went to bed at like 2:30. So I'm tired. I ain't even washed my face yet. Nigga, y'all getting all the stink breath this morning, but I'm up, alive.
Thank God for video messaging, video conferencing, man.
Hallelujah.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm doing good, man. I'm got my little cup of coffee going, recovering. I mean, I ain't even do nothing last. Like we just went to sleep late.
Like recovering. Like, what?
All right.
What?
We went to the Flint United basketball game last night. It was pretty.
Oh, yeah, that's
pretty
the pro
sweet.
team, right? The first pro team.
Yeah. So like, it was real cool, man. They doing it right.
Did they win?
So
they won. They lost their first 3. They just got a nice dub last night.
Is Kendall one part of that?
Say that. Who?
Kendall. Ed Kendall.
Oh, not that I know of.
Oh, I saw a picture and I saw a man in the picture and I was like, "Is that Kendall?"
I don't know if you guys know Kevin Mays.
Yeah.
Or so he's a team president. And kind of help bring the team here.
Yeah.
It's a nice look, good look for the city, man.
That's what's up.
So what are we talking about today, sir?
So man, honestly, I was doing just a lot of thinking. You know, like last couple of weeks has been a lot of media coverage on the guy that murdered George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, his murder trial. And so that kind of just got me thinking about like how, many of us have been brought up to have this talk or whatever, right? About like law enforcement and like how you supposed to act when you get pulled over or something, you know what I'm saying? And so I just kind of wanted to hear from you guys, like maybe what was your perspective on that, how you plan to navigate those kinds of things, raising your kids. And so let's get into it.
So it's different for me, right? Because both of my kids are biracial. Their mom is white, and so I've had these talks with my son because he's very inquisitive and he asks about real world issues all the time. And it's crazy for him to have, it's crazy to have these conversations with him because, like any kid, like I want to be a fireman, I want to be a police officer. He like loves the police. And he's been like to the police station and he's at tours. And as he's gotten older, you can feel that innocence being ripped away from him. Like, and then because like his white side and his black side is so vastly different, even politically, with like not specifically like his mother, but like the relatives,
Mhm.
how pro-police and not understanding of like Black Lives Matter movements and things like that, to where he's like looks at them even differently because you know, them not understanding like what it's like to be Black, or how they view the police as, you know, never doing anything wrong in a sense.
Mhm.
And so these conversations, he's just in a state of confusion right now, to where he doesn't really get it. Like, he doesn't understand hate or like racism, because he's like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, why?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just crazy to see him like fall out of love with what it means to be a police officer, because he's like, man, I don't with them now. Like, I thought I liked them. Like, I thought I wanted to be one of them. And you know, as he's 9 now, up until probably like last year, that was always his goal. Like, I want to be a police officer. I want to be a police officer. And you know, he's been around like some great police officers, right? You know, like the one, like we all went and worked at even International Academy of Flint at some point, and we all know the school police officer there, you know, and he's a great guy, and he's grew up around him as well. And so, you know, we all know that one really great police officer, what's his name, Officer Dickerson. And so he grew that attachment to him, but it's like, okay, I know one good one, but I'm seeing a lot of bad ones. And so his understanding is and perception of them are changing. And so, you know, that talk isn't just a one-time thing, it's a consistent conversation
Yeah.
that I've been having to explore a lot more.
Yeah, see, what's crazy to me about that is like I feel like the talk, right, has been, and I know Chris hates the talk. I want to hear more why you hate the talk, or at least the labeling of the talk. But like for me, like the talk has like been ingrained in Black culture like forever, right? Like growing up, like I had the talk about the police before. I don't even think I had the birds and the bees talk, right? And that's, you know, from a different perspective, that's the talk that people refer to. But for us, for men of color or for Black people, right? Like the talk is about the police. And so for me, I think like the crazy thing is that now like it's being televised, right? And now we can like speak on it and we can prove that these things are happening. But I always wonder like why were we having a talk back then? Because like it didn't seem like those things were happening. It didn't seem like it was prevalent. But our parents knew and our parents had experienced those things.
Yeah.
Um, So I'm, you know, just thinking about that, to me, that's just wild that like we even like as kids before like all of these things became like, I mean, the only thing I remember back as a kid that was like visible to me was Rodney King, and Rodney King wasn't even during my time, but that was the only thing like I remember that was like public in the public's eye, and now
Yeah.
we get it every other day, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, man, that's so crazy. Like, obviously, we was kids like during the whole Rodney King thing, and ain't really quite understand, but like, so I just kind of, man, I think a couple things, Mark, that you said, man, was like, you know, people being like pro police, like Black folks aren't not pro police. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Very true. That
we
is a huge
we
misconception.
we want to be protected too. And when you look at like the different kinds of support, like the crime bill had in the '90s, it was really about, you know, I think a lot of people supported that. A lot of people of color in our communities, a lot of Black people supported that because we want to be protected too. Like nobody wants to be victimized or anything like that, or have your house burglarized or robbed or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I I can understand why people would vote that way for that kind of bill, like the 3 strike rule and all that kind of stuff for those kinds of things. I can understand why people would do that. Um, in hindsight, you know what I'm saying, we know it was really harsh and put away black people like crazy. Give me a minute. Good morning. Peace. And so like, man, I don't like the fact that, you know, a lot of the conversation with our kids is centered around like how we need to behave around when we interact with police. Like Mark, you were saying with your son, you know, he loved a popo. um, you know, and that's, I mean, honestly, it's one of the noble careers, you know what I'm saying, to really put your life on the line every day. Um, but yeah, I just struggle with that concept of keep your hands on the steering wheel, don't look too fast, don't move too sharp, all this other kind of stuff. And you know, it's like, why do we need to do that? No other demographic does that, you know. And honestly, like to me, it's just a no-brainer. Like when I remember getting pulled, I've been pulled over a few times. Not because I do illegal stuff, but I might have been speeding, whatever. Um, but like I haven't had a bad interaction, thank God, with like law enforcement, anything like that. Um,
Shit, I have.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like I can bet. I remember this one time specifically. It was probably like maybe like 3 in the morning, coming from a basketball, riding with Henry. Man, my man thought, I don't know what he thought. First of all, he was driving like, this is a funny story. First of all, he was driving like,
A Geo Metro.
I was gonna give you more credit and say it was a Saturn or something like that. But yeah, it was a stick shift.
Oh, y'all was in a Geo.
Stick shift Geo. And I don't know what he was thinking. He must have been disoriented because he was driving. But dude just thought he was about to just race a cop car. I don't even know. But anyway, he just pulled off on his cop car. He caught up to us at like the next light and made him roll down the window. And this fool got these
Oh yeah, I had to roll.
windows. We was
You had the crank windows.
window like, you want to go to jail? Yo, I don't think I ever seen my man Henry straighten up that fast, man. No sir, no sir. Hey, but
It was a black police officer.
it was, and you know what I'm saying, like that could have went way different. It could have went way different. Nobody knows, but you know, it's just one of them things where you never know. And I honestly, thank God, like we wasn't on a different end of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Being pulled out the car, and I guess he just kind of chalked it up to us being kids and stuff like that. You know?
Nah, man, that didn't matter because going back to my first time getting pulled over, once again, common denominator being Henry.
Yeah.
No riding cars with him is
Right.
Clearly.
what's happening.
Yeah.
But I had literally just got this car. Or I only had it for like a few months or whatever.
Yeah, you had
It was
the Corsica.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, the first car, the '94 Chevy Corsica with the Fast and Furious race seats.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember,
Furious too.
huh?
I said, and you thought you was Fast and Furious too. That was around the time it was hot.
Exactly. Too Fast, Too Furious that just came out. You couldn't tell me that they wasn't gonna make a movie with me being cast as Tyrese's little brother.
With
I
the
mean, with the course. So
with the kit.
listen, my time is now with all these spinoffs.
Ah.
I even got a name for it. I got a script. Warner Brothers, holla at me if or whoever make it, holla at me. It's called Roman's Revenge. Got you. But no, man. So it's me, you, your little brother, and it's like one other person. And we were driving down Hemp Hill Road
Mm-hmm.
in Burton, Michigan. I'll never forget this. I'm like, yo, we being followed. And y'all was like, nah, man, you tripping. We not being followed. I'm like, yes, we are, man. They've been following me for at least a mile at this point. So we get to the intersection of, we're going east on Hemp Hill. We get to the intersection of Door Highway. Once we get to the intersection of Door Highway, it's a police car literally sitting on every corner. 4 police cars total.
Well, hold on. Let me add to the story, because at first there was one, right? That was the one that was.
It was one that was telling us.
And when you told us that, we didn't believe you, and then we like bent another corner, or we got to another part, and another police car had got behind him, and then we got kind of like, okay, Mark might be on to something. He might be right, and then we get to the light, and then there's more.
Yeah, then there's more, and so as soon as we turned the corner at the light, as soon as the light changed, we turned the corner, we pulled into. Yep, them lights went off, and we pulled into this business, which ironically, like a year later, became our karate studio that we ended up purchasing with our karate instructor. But we pull in this driveway, and everybody gets out the car, hands on gun. I think one of them had one drawn, and they start to question.
Guns were out. Guns, lights on both sides of the car.
All that. And they get out and they like, whose car is this? Like, first off, this car is easily 10 years old. It ain't like nothing special, crazy about this car, nothing.
But here, let me add something to the story.
It's 4 black boys.
Let me add something to the story. So Mark had been riding dirty for most of his car's career until that week. He had finally got legit. So he was legitly clean, but it was the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So probably hadn't registered in the system yet. All right.
Yeah. So the original, I think we transferred the plate from like my dad's like 89 Buick LeSabre.
Mm-hmm.
And so long story short, I had been riding like messed up for like 4 or 5 months. And so, like he said, like that week of, like that plate is registered. And so he pulls me over, and is like, whose car is this? I'm like, man, it's my plate or whatever. And, asks for, he asked for everybody's ID. First off, we kids.
Right.
Like, we all ain't got ID.
But not just ask for ID. He first of all, I remember the story vividly. First of all, he had all of us put our hands where he could see him. So I'm in the passenger seat, my hand on the dash. We got cops over here, my little brother in the back. He got his hands on his lap. Mark got his hands on the steering wheel, and he's like, we need to see everybody ID. Everybody get ID out. Like, aggressive. This wasn't like a nonchalant pullover.
Nah.
So, we careful. Like, we nervous, scared. I'm pulling out my school ID. Like, I ain't got a real ID, so I'm pulling out my school ID. So I put that on. Mark obviously had a driver's license. My little brother panicking to find whatever he had, because he was middle school at that point.
Yeah.
So he pulling out his joint. All right, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry, I'm just adding.
Go ahead. Go ahead, man. You're telling it better than I am.
So they do all this. They get our stuff. We still in the shock. We nervous. Our hands are up. He go back, he run everything, and then he find out everything legit like 5-10 minutes later. And then he comes back as if nothing.
Which is the longest 5-10 minutes ever, because it seemed like we there for like
still there.
An hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like forever. Like, we nervous. We know we ain't doing anything wrong, but you got 6 police on you, like, you scared. You're like, shit, maybe we did do something wrong. So yeah, he come back from his car. And like, as if this had never happened, he like, you fellas good. So what about that game?
Yeah, literally asked us about a Lions game.
Like, no, like, you just scared the daylights out of us. We ain't in the mindset to talk about a game. Like, we were nervous the rest of that night.
Man.
And it's just crazy because, for one, you had no reason to ever run the plates because I was never speeding. We all had on seatbelts, all of that. So you never had a reason to run the plates, really, if we being real. You should have never asked everybody for their ID. There was no reason to ever ask for that because I'm the only driver, clearly. And so, like, He asked everybody for their ID. Like we were all underage. Like I think I mean, I bought this car when I was young. So like we were all under 18.
Yeah.
And so it was just so many things that went wrong. Like you pulling guns on little kids.
But there were so many other things that could have gone wrong. And I say like what saved us in that moment was unfortunately the talk, right? Like I still feel
Yeah.
that like having some sort of dialogue with your child, maybe not a dialogue of fear, right? Not like expressing that like, oh, you need to respect them and fear them at the utmost. Like, no, I don't agree with that, Chris, and I'm with you on that. But I think there needs to be that open dialogue of like, hey, these are some things that have happened in the past. And there are good cops and there are these cops. You just need to listen to whatever they're saying and just be compliant. Like I feel like you should just be
But how many times have you seen that?
right.
And it still don't
I,
work.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And then that's a different conversation. Like you said, like this isn't just a one-time conversation. It's a continuing conversation. And what made me realize that recently is there's this short film on Netflix. What is it called? I think it's called Bad Day with Joey Badass. It's like a 30-minute short film. And basically the concept of the movie is that he like leaves his girl's apartment to go to his spot because he wants to go check on his dog. But he goes out and there's this cop. Yeah, there's this cop that continues that kills him, right? It starts out like very like
Oh, you know, I just saw a trailer for that yesterday.
the whole I can't breathe thing, right? So like it starts out that, but then it's the whole like this day keeps repeating itself. And the whole premise of the thing is that like he's trying to find different ways to interface with this cop
And not get killed.
and not get killed. And it's just a cycle over and over. And so that made me realize that like it doesn't matter how you decide, like how you approach the situation. You could be aggressive, you can be non-compliant, you could try to have open dialogue with the person, and whoever that person is, whatever their values are, is still gonna outshine what you got going on. And so like we just need to find better ways or better systems or whatever we need to do from our side to handle those situations. But you still want to diffuse the situation as much as possible because you don't want to give anybody any sort of excuse. And I know that's like controversial. So yeah, go ahead.
It is controversial because it's like it's not ever our job to do that. And that's the part that people aren't getting is we shouldn't have to do all of these things. Like they should literally just not fucking be racist. Like that's it.
But that's
They
the
shouldn't
reality, though.
like they should be held accountable for their bad days. You know how many black and brown people are sitting in jail because they had a bad day and they made a bad decision one time and now they have life in prison. And police people are the only job in the world where they have bad days and they don't be held accountable.
Right.
Like if a nurse has a bad day and accidentally kills someone, guess what? They're never allowed to practice medicine again. They're fired from their job.
Right.
They're fined. They're even in some instances thrown in jail. You know what I'm saying? A teacher has a bad day and gets in conflict with a student and they fight a student, shit, they're fired from their job immediately. You know, it's so many instances where so many other professions have bad days and it's done. They're not allowed to even practice in that field anymore.
That's an interesting concept. I've also heard of like doctors need to have like malpractice insurance and stuff like that. Like if that was an approach with like law enforcement, like if there was some kind of like liability insurance or something like that they had to carry, they might think or might proceed in situations a little bit differently, which I guess kind of so now that we've kind of talked about those different kinds of experiences in our lives, how are you going to approach this with your kids?
I mean, it's just for me, it's just a conversation every day of the unfortunate conversation of what should you do when you get approached by police.
Mark, you said your son was kind of feeling like not so in love with police anymore. Like,
no, he ain't with them.
like and so like I have the 3 or 4 frat brothers, probably more, I mean, that I know personally that are police officers
Same.
at different levels, you know what I'm saying? So and again, it's a necessary, like, we want to be protected too, right?
Yeah.
So like I guess what is there anything that you would do or say differently to maybe encourage him to look at it or kind of see a bigger picture? And that might be tough for him because he is young. But yeah, just kind of what are your thoughts on that too?
I mean, honestly, it's the same. I don't think it's nothing I would say differently, honestly. Like, I don't, the entire structure of policing is racist. So, of course we have good cops, whatever, right? Then you have bad cops. And I hate the term, we have a few bad apples. Honestly, it's in roots of the tree is rotten because it's created from its entire entity is based on racism. And so as much as I can tell them is you're going to have your good days and bad days. And unfortunately, whenever you see a cop, you just never know when that cop is going to have a bad day. And that's the trauma that we have to operate in and normalize as a Black person, is praying that we don't encounter a cop that's having a bad day. And that's as little but as much hope as I can ever give my son. And we have to live in that. That's what it's like to live while being Black in America. And when we often talk about white privilege, this is what white people don't understand is they don't, as worse as they get is a cop having a bad day is they get a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the white privilege that they don't understand. Here's a cop having a bad day for us means something completely different, whether you're compliant or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Henry, well, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I'm on the same page. For me, it's more it's around, like, I have my days. I see these things on TV, right? And I'm like you get enraged, right? Like you see these movies, or you see and you get enraged, and you like the police, like immediately. That's your first thought, right? Like, man, if I was in this situation, I would do this, and that. But the reality is that for me, it's like I come from a space where I understand that there are the cops who I know, like Mark said, we know good cops, and we know that there are cops out there who probably shouldn't be in their position. They're not properly trained psychologically. They shouldn't be in that position. They're using that position as a position of power, whatever the reason. And so when I'm in any of those situations, I want to make sure that, even if they are having the people who are having a bad day, like you can't account for that. But for the 95-80% of the other police that I encounter with or I interface with, it's just respect, right? I'm going to give them the respect that I'm hoping that they're going to give me. And if I'm in a situation where that doesn't happen, whatever, right? But for my kids, like, or for my kid right now, like, I want them to understand that, like, I want to give them the education behind it, the education of how we have gotten to this point, and then have that shape their perspective of how they should interface with the police. Again, I don't want it to be a fear thing, because for me, I grew up, that dialogue was like, it felt like I should be afraid. And now even like I hear police sirens or a police get behind me, even we just like in normal traffic, my heart start beating, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's fear instilled from like my parents because of the talk, right? And I don't want that for my child. I don't want them to be like, immediately think they did something wrong because the police got behind them. Like, you just in traffic, like, and the police just
Yeah.
happen to be in traffic with you. And I want them to have that understanding that, like, look, as long most people in life, as long as you're doing the shit that you need to do, you may not experience the people with the bad day. And if you do, then that's a different conversation we need to have.
Yeah, man. So I think for me, I mean, like both of you said, like it's definitely not going to be from a place of fear. Um, and so, you know, my kids ask, you know, my daughter asks questions and stuff like that, you know, about just some of the current events that are happening because she sees it, and like having to explain that to a 6-year-old, man, I ain't
Rough.
even sign up for that, man.
Yeah.
I ain't sign up for that. And so, you know, just keeping it real with her, like, you know, this is what's happening and it's not right. Or, you know what I'm saying? This is trying to explain that aspect to her and then kind of letting her formulate her own opinions from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's certainly not going to be from a place of fear. Like, uh, I mean, it's their job. And so, you know, they doing their job. They want to go home after their job. We want to go home after our job. Different things like that, and really explaining it to her that way. But I mean, I do like, you know, the approach of just explaining the history behind, you know, these things that have happened, and just kind of historically how they've affected Black people, and keeping it real with them. And you know, like I said, I pray to God we never have to experience any kind of you know, victimization like that, you know, from law enforcement like so many others have.
Yeah.
Uh,
But at the same time, I've also done my work in the community, right? With trying to rebuild those relationships. As much as I
mhm,
really don't with the police, I've still done my due diligence, right? Like I've been a part of partnership programs in the community, you know, where some of them are literally called like Bridge the Gap, where police and communities come together.
yeah,
I work on an anti-racism board for U of M Flint or University of Michigan right now, um, with the Genesee County Sheriff's Department, um, and a bunch of other stuff I've done in the past, right? And so I do, as much as I don't bang with them, I do my part, right, when trying to change the narrative and trying to rebuild the relationships in the community with police officers and just the everyday citizens. Um, you know, I will personally never be a cop, but once again, like you said, we have friends that are police officers, right? We do have like those good cops out there. And so I will continue to advocate for my community and building my community so we have more amazing police officers in our community
yeah,
and in law enforcement in general in our community. Um, and that's easily been one of my biggest struggles in life, like trying to rebuild, break down and rebuild something that's completely against me racially, and try to work with people that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with
yeah,
and make something greater for, I mean, if we've been honest, I probably won't completely reap the effects of what I'm doing, but like my son's generation will and his sons. So
Uh, just to add on to that, like, man, I think, like, for me, it's like that whole emotional intelligence, right? Like, I think, like, when we interacted with those police mark with us, right, we were able to detect, right, because we had the tools emotionally to detect,
yeah,
like these guys not having a good day. We probably should put a little extra on compliancy, right? But then I also think about when we broke down for my bachelor party in Lee's van and that police officer
yo,
came, right? And again, like, emotional, like, he didn't come to us with an authoritative, aggressive, like, why y'all over here? What's going on? You got a van full of Black people. Like, what's up? Like he came through like, how can I help y'all, right? And then
Yeah.
we were able to let our guards down and be like, oh, officer, we trying to do this. And he trying to help us fix a tire. He taking selfies with us, right? Like
I still ain't trust that, you know, but
Hey,
yeah.
where was we at? Was that
Ohio.
Ohio? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We was like right on the borderline of like Virginia and Ohio or something
Man,
like
I
that.
don't know if that would have happened in Kentucky or something. I don't know.
I mean, again,
Yeah.
like we all probably had our guards up, aside from the white brothers that was with us. But us brothers probably all had our guards up initially. But then once we realized that he was good people, we were able to like break down that wall. And I don't want my kids to like be on the strong defense every time, because then
Yeah.
you don't allow for that dialogue or for that relationship, right? Like if we were all staying back and like kind of like fearful of this guy, then like I that was a memorable experience from my bachelor party. Like I remember that, and I think it was a good experience, right? Like so we wouldn't even have that opportunity to have that, and I want to make sure that like my kids understand that like these are just people,
Yeah.
and as human people, like we have people who are not good and we have people who are good. The uniform doesn't necessarily make them who they are, who they aren't. They were who they were before they put that uniform on. And unfortunately, we given the uniform to some people who don't deserve it or doesn't stand for what we think it's supposed to stand for.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's deep, man. Yeah, it's like I said, these situations go a whole 180, right? A whole different way sometimes. So it's interesting though. But like you were saying, like there's some great cops and great. I mean, there's great people in all these different different kinds of roles. I think just our justice system as a whole, is like Marco Sands has some racist foundations. Honestly, I mean, just systemically. I was actually one of the reasons why I was up so late last night. We were watching what is it? United States versus Billie Holiday.
Mm.
And man, that was interesting, man. So interesting, and just how and I mean, we've all probably heard of COINTELPRO and all these different kinds of government agencies and programs designed to infiltrate like Black organizations and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that was an interesting story. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I don't know if it's just on Hulu, but
It's in my queue to watch. I haven't seen it yet.
yeah, it was really good, man. And I never really, I guess, looked into the jazz singer's history like that, but yeah, it was really, really well directed actually too. I ain't no film, expert and nothing like that, like our boy Mark here, but
I forget. I can't. I'm having a brain fart too, just because I'm so tired. But I know exactly who directed it. Who played
yeah.
Malia Jackson?
So okay, man, I'm
Is
thinking
who played Billie Holiday?
that was
Isn't that her name? Like Malia?
Andra Day.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, she did a great job, by the way, too.
Yeah, she's dope.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. Any other thoughts, fellas? Any other last um, you know, nuggets as we wrap up here?
Police.
Fuck the police.
But
Man, I'm always want to be open to dialogue. I think that's like what our nation is missing, and I think it's important. I mean, when you talk about any people who are like drastically on two different sides, I think
Yeah.
they're coming from a point of not understanding the other side and not having the willingness to understand the other side, right? Like, because I think about the whole like whether you for or against Donald Trump, right? And like my neighbors Actually, all of my neighbors, a lot of my neighbors are Donald Trump, and I'm like, man, y'all good people. How y'all fucking with Trump like that?
Right.
Um, but I think like it just comes from a perspective of misunderstanding. Like I can't attribute it that they support Donald Trump because I don't understand why. Like I don't know why they support Donald Trump, but I can't attribute that to them also carrying the same characteristics or hate that he has, right?
Because they're racist. And yes, they do carry the same characteristics.
Not true though. That's not true. So like when I talk to them, then I understand that like they only with Donald Trump is because he's a Republican, and from a like business standpoint, they agree with his stances on business. They don't fuck with Donald Trump because of all the other shit that he has going on. It's just because of he represents the Republican Party. And for me, like having that understanding is like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Like if I'm looking
No,
at
it doesn't.
that perspective,
If you're willing to turn a blind eye to racism just because you can make you a few dollars, that's still racist.
it is, but that doesn't make the people who support that racist.
If you
Either
support
way,
racism, you're racist.
Either way, I say
I
that
want all
that
the smoke today. You hear me? All the smoke.
having that dialogue is important, whether it's race, religion, anything. I think having that open dialogue for me is I think that's the most important thing. Is be like both sides willing to talk.
Yeah.
Well, you you brought up Donald Trump. I'm gonna bring up like the mask mandates and all this kind of stuff. Like it's really turned into like Democrats versus Republicans over wearing a mask or not, and it's like mind-boggling to me. But anyway,
it is, and it's crazy because I really just think it's stupid versus like common sense smart. Like it's so crazy how what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but it's crazy how spoiled Americans are where we can argue science.
Yeah.
Like they will tell us and give us proof. Like, here's the stats, here's the test, here's the science, here's what we got. They're like, nah, it's not true.
Well, I mean, I would say the same thing about
I mean, of course, we've had some things that haven't been right, but just the overall, like we're like the only country that's like fought wearing masks. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, it's annoying. Yeah, it's my beard messed up. It ain't growing in right.
Hey, we was at the game last night. I was joking with my wife, like, man, this mask, it's hurting my ears. Ready to take it off. Wait, put this fucking thing on. But temper tantrums over masks, man. But yeah, it's wild, man. Like even like the shot, the vaccine, like within, so I've gotten it, and well, the first dose at least, and I'm still here, still sane. You know, nothing's crazy. My balls ain't shrink or nothing like that.
Not
So,
a zombie yet. Okay, that's
yeah,
good.
I'm still good. You know, we on what's this day 5 of zombie watch, so I'm good so far. But yeah, like even within like the Black community, like
I still ain't getting that shit.
I was talking to my mom. She was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You gonna get the vaccine?" She was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be one of the first." I'm like, "Well, kind of literally, like, a few million people have taken the vaccine, so you ain't like the first." But like, then we watched a skit on Saturday Night Live, and it was trying to get his Black family members to take it, and
I saw that.
It's like, if I gave you $5,000, get the vaccine. Well, I don't know.
Hey, listen, man, I agree. I'm one of them family members. Like everybody know, you don't buy like the first generation of a new iPhone. You got to wait till they sell out that one, see which ones come back defected, and then you get the second generation of the new number or whatever come out.
Yeah, people is just funny, man. You know, it's people gonna people, man. It's wild.
So I agree with that one though, but I ain't got it yet. I'll get it in like a year or two.
You ain't gonna get it.
But but I don't like needles, so that's different. I ain't getting no shots.
More excuses. No.
Hey man, it is what it is.
Man, that's funny, man. But yeah, man. So H, you introduced the show, man. Go ahead, wrap us up, bro.
Well, I mean, we're ending on a pretty heavy topic, so let's lighten this shit up before we wrap it up. I like your segment last week, so let's do that again. What's your dad moment of the week? Where we at?
Oh man, what? Oh yeah. So I could pop it off. So dad moment this week was we was at the game last night, and like buying tickets was different. I really didn't know how it was gonna be. So like, they got like courtside seats and still got like bleacher seats. We was at the Dort Financial Center, IMA, Pirani, whatever you want to call it. So, yeah. So like I didn't know how seating was gonna be. So, and it was only selling courtside tickets in sets of 2. So like you had to buy 2. And we got 3 kids, and one of them 6. She don't weigh a lot, but I knew my son was gonna want to sit on my lap the whole time. So I'm like, and I ain't really gotta buy a whole another 2 seats. Like you still getting charged for like 2 seats, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the price per seat. So I'm like, man, I ain't really gotta buy no another set. Like my wife could hold the baby, I'll hold the other 2, So we get in there, and it's just like the little fold out, the little cushion fold out chairs, folding chairs. So we go to our seats. And oh yeah, by the way, so like, people, the little ticket takers or whatever, scan my seats, and he was scanning. I only had 2 seats, and he like kind of looked back at my wife and the kids and like
counting. You ready?
oh yeah, they're gonna say what up. So we just get to our seats, man. I mean, it all worked out, but yeah, I guess that was like my dad moment, just being frugal, man. Like we need all them damn seats.
Respect.
Right.
Dad approved. What you got, Mark?
Man, my daughter, she broke her phone. And of course, you yell at your kid like 50 million times a day, put the phone case on, put the phone case on, put the phone case on. She broke her phone, smashed it. And so her mama like, I ain't getting it fixed. You gonna earn the money. And so who am I? I'm the petty daddy. And so I'm like, all right, cool. If you want to make this money, I got a whole list of chores you can do. And I broke it down into categories. Like this costs this amount of money, this costs this amount of money. It really wasn't a whole lot of stuff. It was just like maybe like 5, 6 things you had to do. But to get the phone fixed was like $100. Dog, this little told me no. Like,
I'm good.
She was like, nah, I'm good. She's like, I don't really want to do none of this. I'm like,
rock the broken phone?
Dog, her phone still broke. She was like, y'all can just get it fixed. Like, I don't bro, like my kids think I'm rich.
Man.
Like they literally think this. And because like I work in the media entertainment industry, you know what I'm saying? So I meet people all the time like, nah, daddy, you got it. Go ahead, get my phone fixed. I don't need to work for this.
You know what? You got to bring them back, Mark. You got to get the lights cut off, get the water cut off for a week, and then put them on some Spam sandwiches. Oh,
I'm telling you,
sugar water, they're liven up. Like, oh, daddy, I appreciate everything you done for us.
Dog, they really do protest. They be like, nah, we good. We ain't gonna do this. Like, you ain't gonna make us no separate dinner for some stuff we want to eat. Like, man, all this shit there.
We got bologna in the fridge. You can have it fried, fresh, baked. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got. That's wild.
We gonna have to. I'm gonna have to take them. I'm gonna have to do like a whole week of them living in poverty.
Right. Yeah, they need
They about to appreciate this.
Hey, just give them $100 budget for the week. That's it. That's probably been a little too generous.
That's way too generous. Right.
$100?
I was thinking like 20.
Right.
And that's being generous.
That is. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta think of the price of inflation and all.
Nah, they got a lot of $100, man. I swear. And kids these days, they'll spend it all the first day.
Yeah.
Man,
It'll be gone.
power of a dollar, you know.
What you got, Age?
Man, I'm just not at the stage that y'all at. But my dad moment of the week is I was on the phone, was it yesterday, with my brother, who happens to be incarcerated. So he hasn't met his niece yet. But you know, you get to hear her on the phone, and I had it on speakerphone, and Charlie and I was laying in the bed, and Pauline was gone somewhere. And she gets to babbling, and then she was like, Dada. Because she's been saying Dada, but she don't know who it is. It's just some words that she's saying. And my brother got geeked. He was like, did you say Dada? Like, oh shit. Like, he was so geeked. And I'm like, I'm all nonchalant, like, she said it all the time. She ain't calling me. She don't even look at me when she say Dada. Sometimes she call Pauline Dada. Like, everybody Dada right now. Like, that don't mean nothing to me. But to hear his excitement, man, I'm excited for him to meet her.
Yeah. Hey, when he coming home?
Later this year. I want to say in a couple of months. But I don't even put if he out, he out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If he here, he here. If he not, he not. Yeah. So it's kind of one of them things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how it is.
Well, fellas, this has been another great Patriarch Pod. We thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time. Deuces.
Peace.
Yo.